ethnic identity, okay? Because we keep a lot of our Scottish traditions and very much keep the Presbyterian faith.
Okay.
They are Presbyterians. Later in the States, many of them become Baptist, but initially they are Presbyterian. Now, this guy, Sir Arthur Dobbs, from Carrickfergus, their family still live 2 miles from here. Very wealthy family. He is the mayor of Carrickfergus and the member of Parliament. He goes to North Carolina and becomes the governor of North Carolina.
Oh, my lands.
And then he is granted 400,000 acres in North Carolina. And of course, he needs people to farm it. So he takes the people of Carrickfergus and encourages them to go to North Carolina.
This is putting the puzzle together for me so much.
Yeah. So even though the Jacksons go out slightly after him, it is his influence that brings the Jacksons to North Carolina.
Wow.
And many others.
Yeah.
And then in the South Carolina, we'll have this group. The Reverend William Martin is what was called a Covenanter Presbyterian here. And these Covenanters get really fed up with the system here. And they go to South Carolina. 5 ships of them. I am going to Spartanburg, South Carolina in July because these families are still there.
Wow.
They're still on the land they were granted. And the fact that you said 120 acres granted,
Yeah.
I am almost certain that was for a husband, the Jackson, a wife, because both got 50 acres each, and 20 for a child. Almost certain that's how it worked.
Oh, my lands.
So it often works out this way.
Yeah.
That whenever they go for land grants, it's on the number in the family.
That is really cool.
Yeah. I would double check that one, but that's certainly for these guys, we have it all recorded. We know exactly what piece of land each family got.
Yeah.
So what did this little province of Ulster, what did your ancestors give America? Okay.
A lot.
Now, we also become the original hillbillies. Okay? I know in the States, I live in the States, it's seen as derogatory. It's not at all here.
Yeah.
We would call ourselves hillbillies.
Yeah.
Because if you check the Scottish dictionary, the Scots word billy, B-I-L-L-I-E, okay? It means buddy. It's the American equivalent of buddy. That's all it means. We're hill buddies.
Yeah.
We're living in the hills together. It's as simple as that. Now, they have an advantage. They are poor, indentured servants. 40% of them die before their indentureship's up. But because they're Presbyterian, their core religious belief is self-Bible reading. So many of them are literate.
Wow.
So, how do we see this influencing? Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
The original handwritten copy has 5 signatures on it of people born here in Ulster. Okay.
5?
5. Then they have to print 200 copies to send out to the world.
Sure.
So the 200 original copies, there is only 2 signatures. John Hancock and Charles Thompson as Secretary of Continental Congress. Charles Thompson was born here in Mackeraw. He also designed the presidential seal. He was an orphan that ended up being the equivalent today of your Secretary of State for 15 years. So, we got blamed. In Ulster, the British blame us in Ulster for the revolution. Walpole got up in the House of Commons was asked, what is happening to our American colonies? And Walpole got up and said, our American colonies have ran away with the Ulster pastors.
Oh, my lands.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So we get the blame of it in Britain. And it's partially true because we went to the States, or to America as it was then, to these colonies with A, a chip on our shoulder of how we've been treated, but B, something that was seen as absolutely radical. Democracy. We demanded democracy. And our battle cry was liberty, freedom, and democracy.
Wow.
And that we were so heavily involved in the revolution, you know, and great losses, like Andrew Jackson lost all of his family by the end of he was a total orphan at 13 by the end of the revolution.
So, and Samuel Jackson, his son, fought in the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the Sons of the American Revolution.
Yes.
I'm a member because I have 9 patriots in my bloodline.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But Sam Jackson, not the one from Carrickfergus, but his son was he fought in it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this all led up to a rebellion here in Ireland in 1798 that we lost, Britain won. But what we can say is what was lost in our big battle here was the Battle of Antrim as a revolutionary battle. What was lost in the battlefields of Antrim was won in the battlefields of New Orleans.
Sure.
1815.
Wow.
Because we have to, I don't think most Americans realize this, that the Battle of New Orleans was as much to do with this little province of Ulster as it was America and Britain. I'll explain why.
Yeah.
Major Robert Ross, for the British, comes out of Ulster, or out of Canada, down into Washington, D.C., and burns down the White House. Okay? 1814. Major Robert Ross is not from Canada. Major Robert Ross lived there. County Down.
Really?
That's his family seat.
Yeah.
So he is this elite class of Church of Ireland, Anglican.
Yeah.
Right? So then we look on the American side, we have Jackson. Jackson might as well have been born here. He spoke our first language, and you remind me to give you the information on the language of your forefathers. I'll give you a written documentation.
Oh, cool.
So, Andrew Jackson, Sam Houston, Texas, first president. Well, Sam Houston and Andrew Jackson were like brothers. Sam Houston came from the next village over.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Davy Crockett of the Wild Frontier.
Yeah.
His family were from County Tyrone.
Oh my goodness.
And then for the Battle of New Orleans, now some of them it was their grandparents, you know.
Sure.
But they're primarily the same thinking. Commodore Patterson at the Battle of New Orleans, the naval leader for the Americans, that blocked off the bayous and forced the British through the swamps. Probably wouldn't have won it without him.
Yeah.
So now we have 5 from Ulster.
Yeah.
And the whole thing of the 1815 Battle of New Orleans, Britain is trying to take back the Louisiana Purchase. If they take the Louisiana Purchase, there is no further spread west for the United States. A lot to play for. Jackson defeats the British, slaughters them at the Battle of New Orleans. But who he defeats is Sir Edward Packenham. Sir Edward Packenham was the son of Lord Longford here in Ireland. He was educated 30 miles from here, but he was brought up 20 miles
Interesting.
from here. Jackson knew exactly who a Packenham was.
Yeah.
Packenham wouldn't have had a clue who he was. But the big problem for Britain was Pakenham was the brother-in-law of the Duke of Wellington.
Wow.
So Jackson defeating, a hillbilly Jackson defeating Pakenham hit to the very heart of the British
the monarchy. Yeah.
Like bang!
Yeah.
And that's why we're never taught about it here.
So if you're from, I mean, this didn't become part of the UK until much later.
Yeah. 1800
Right.
changes everything. So up until 1800, the Presbyterians were in many ways anti-British. However, in 1800 is the Act of Union that changes it from being Great Britain to the United Kingdom, which included Ireland.
See, and because whenever I do my DNA and I trace this back, it says that my percentage of Irish is like 2%.
Yeah.
But that's only because this is considered British in UK.
Yes.
Not considered Irish.
Yes.
And technically, my percentage of Irish is much, much higher.
But of Scottish descent.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we're only 12 miles.
Yeah.
12 miles.
So you said the Jacksons came from Wigtown?
Wigtown. Very originally, they were known as border reivers. They were along the Scottish-English border, moved all the time, continuously. And they were in a place called the Cheviots, which, back and forward, North England, Scotland, but they're Scottish.
Yeah.
They're of Gaelic.
My grandpa, my mom's dad, I mean, he had red curly hair. Not bright red, it was dark red, but curly hair.
Well, Jackson, red hair. He was red hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see any pictures of him in color. It's all drawing, so, yeah.
So, yeah, he was red hair whenever he was young.
Wow.
But, Stonewall Jackson.
Yeah.
And Andrew, often in America, they say they were not related.
Okay.
They were very distantly related.
Yeah.
Because we're unsure whether the Jacksons coming into Ulster were two brothers or two cousins.
Gotcha.
One of them went further south to Tandragee in Armagh, and one came north to Coleraine and Bellahill. So you are part of what are known as the Bellahill Jacksons. Okay. And these are the Tandragee Jacksons. Stonewall Jackson was descended from the Tandragee Jacksons. Wow. So there is a connection.
Sure. Yeah. This is fascinating. Yeah. I mean, I am so grateful that you let us come in here.
Oh, not at all. It was just the alarm was going off at the time. And, let me just get you this.